good. It's a triple-double for Bella Earl.
Goes matched up with a speedy guard. Great screen, spin move, layup, he missed it. Williamson fights for the board. His putback is good.
Good afternoon, WAC women's basketball fans. It is a Friday, cold and rainy Friday afternoon here in Southern California. But joining us this afternoon to brighten our afternoon is the play-by-play analyst for the CBU women's basketball team, Taylor Kilgore. Kilgore is in her second season calling games alongside the great Travis Van Noti. And the Lancers off to a 5-0 start after 2 weeks, the WAC's only undefeated team. We're going to talk about the Lancers first couple of weeks, the larger WAC picture in 25-26. And just the state of the game in mid-major women's basketball. Taylor, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So obviously, 24-25 was Jared Olson's first losing season and the Lancers' first losing season at the Division I record. You saw a maybe re-energized and re-fired up team that opening night matchup against UC Riverside, who made it to the WNIT last year. And it seems like they've just taken it and run with it to this 5-0 start, with arguably one of the country's most improved defenses, at least on the points per game allowed front.
Yeah, I think what you saw that opening night was also a healthy team, and that's with the exception of the great Grace Schmidt, who we've yet to see, but should be back hopefully soon in that lineup. But last year, you mentioned it, was that this team took their licks, but really they couldn't get a healthy roster. And, we talked with Jared Olson coming into the season, and it doesn't just affect the games, but when you don't have any healthy players for practice, it makes it really difficult to kind of get game ready. So I think last year was a tough one. They were really looking forward to a healthy year. And 5-0, it's been a great start so far.
Obviously, one of the biggest stories across the WAC so far, if you've watched other teams' games, has been the contributions of the newcomers.
Yeah.
Whether it's Kaylee Hedrick from Utah Valley, Kylie Hedrick from Utah Valley, Kylie Borden from Utah Tech. And then you look at CBU, a newcomer in their own right, and Lauren Olson, who, she struggled against UCR, but the last handful of games here, she's kind of just picked it up.
Talk about confidence, walking in as a true freshman. And you mentioned that opener against UCR, a couple moments where you're like, okay, it might take her a second to get used to the college speed. It took her about a half of basketball, and then she's jumping right in. She's been a massive contributor already through the first 5 games, and she's been a lot of fun to watch because she really fits into the CBU mold. She's ready to take a shot whenever she sees any green light out there. And she could shoot the ball. She's good on defense, and she's really playing not like a true freshman. And as I said in our broadcast earlier this week, it's not even Thanksgiving. And Lauren is also already a major contributor. So credit to her for adjusting to the college speed of the game so quickly. And I know Jared Olson was excited about her potential. And so far, man, talk about an immediate impact from a true freshman.
You talk about a returner who's made a big stride from last year, Emma Johansson, the WAC's leading shot blocker, the nation's leading shot blocker, I believe, as of when they ran the report yesterday. And just arguably looking for a place on that all-WAC team because,
yes,
goodness gracious, she's got to be one of the most improved posts in the conference, if not the country.
Well, and Coach Olson told us that she spent time with Team Sweden over the summer competing at the World Cup, actually. And so that's invaluable experience. And I think you see those gains just by her confidence out there. I mentioned Grace Schmidt, who hasn't played yet this season, but she's that true post, right? Emma Johansson coming in this year and really taking ownership inside. Whether she's playing with her back to the basket or from the outside, as we're used to seeing her offensively, she's been such a killer in every way, rebounds, scoring, you name it. But you mentioned the shot blocking. Of course, that's her bread and butter. Yes, I believe she now leads the nation. And what an asset for this defense. It really is such an advantage when you're trying to play full court, when you have a rim protector like Emma Johansson back there. She's been amazing. I think she had 6 or 7 blocks last game. Just so fun to watch.
Yeah, and we're talking about that much improved defense. They haven't given up 60 to anybody yet.
No, they haven't. And how exciting is that? Again, Coach Olson, when we talked the week leading into that season opener, he mentioned not specifics. He's not going to give us, give away all his secrets, but he said, we're going to do a couple different things defensively this year. I took that to mean, okay, I think he's looking at his personnel. You have an Emma Johansson in there, and they're going to really crank up some pressure. And we've seen them pick up full court a lot this year. And it is giving teams fits. They've forced so many turnovers, so many momentum changes simply because of this fly around pressure defense that they're coming out with. So the rotations are looking good. Of course, we're still super early in the season. So you expect that defense to just get even cleaner, even faster, even more effective. But man, they have been off to a great start on the defensive side of the ball.
And the scary thing is the WAC features, I believe it's now 3 of the country's top 50 in turnovers forced, with Utah Valley, ACU, and CBU's got to be sniffing that 50th.
I'm sure.
Spot with the amount of turnovers they've forced so far this year. Taylor, let's take a look at the WAC pick. So obviously you mentioned that Grace Schmidt hasn't entered a game this year. Chloe Lemon's been in and out of the lineup, and if they can get those two healthy and back, this could be a scary team to watch once we get to New Year's weekend and the conference opener.
Well, just looking at last year, those were your two after Christmas. Those were your top 2 players, right? Chloe Lemon just had an amazing year when she came back from injury in January and just put up incredible numbers. And Grace Schmidt is just so effective down low, back to the basket, rebounds, points, you name it. So you get those 2 consistently back in the lineup. Jared Olson's going to have a lot of weapons to work with. And I think he's got to feel excited about that. And I think the advantage, if you had to find a silver lining to not having them consistently in the lineup right now, it's that you're getting the rest of your squad even more experience, right? So when they are ready to enter back into that lineup, you're going to have a lot of weapons to work with, as I mentioned. So I think they're excited. Of course, when you get it off to a great start like this, you're feeling good. And you also look at their non-conference schedule. They played a ton of games at CBU, but also just locally. Last year, this time, they were traveling a ton. So I think it's been more of a favorable non-conference schedule for them, which has really helped them to find their footing early.
And Jared Olson mentioned that when we talked to him last summer. One of the things I asked him in our preseason conversation last year was about the scheduling, and does, getting to an NCAA tournament open doors or close doors? And he was like, it closed doors for us last year.
Well, and
we normally would have played.
Yeah.
Just closed the door, and we had to, they had to go to Florida for that MTE over Thanksgiving. They had to go, Oregon, Liberty.
Yeah.
I mean, they put on the frequent flyer miles that first month of the season last year.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I can make an analogy here because, when you're a top team and you get put in prime time every single game, everyone's gunning for you. And when CBU made the tournament, that next schedule was definitely showing of that. And I think Coach Olson has a point where when you are having to travel like that, the advantage is not with you. And it's hard to get teams to come and play you when you're so good because teams are trying to win games. So I think this year, definitely the schedule is a lot more favorable for them. And we've seen the fruits of that with those 5 wins.
And it helps when you have it, they're going to come back from this 9-day break with home MTE with a soft UC Santa Barbara squad led by a second-year head coach in Renee Jimenez, who I'm pretty sure Jared Olson and her go back to the Division II days.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Jimenez was at San Marcos.
Okay.
And then UT Chattanooga coming to town also in Sac State, which a reunion possibly for Sophia Alonza and Paula Hall.
Sure. I think, back when I was a player, I loved this part of the season because the holiday tournaments, when you're kind of before you start the conference play, it's fun to play teams that you've never seen before, get some fresh looks at different parts of the country, different conferences. So the fact that CBU is hosting a Thanksgiving tournament this year is so exciting. It's good for the fans to have a couple games to go to around the holidays. And hopefully, once again, they're going to try and take advantage of being on the home floor. You've got to win those home games, as we know, at this point in the year.
And especially once the calendar turns to December and WAC play. with
Yes.
triple round robin format. Taylor, as a player, how would you have reacted if they had told you were playing a triple round robin at some point in your career?
Well, you always hear the phrase in sports, it's hard to beat anyone 3 times, right? People say that all the time. And so this is definitely a unique situation, but I think you have to look at it. If I was a player, I'm looking at it as a positive. I like to play people I'm familiar with. Let's just, get to know each other better than it's going to be some battles, right? I also think with the amount of teams in the conference now, you kind of have a sense of, hey, it's up for grabs. Who's going to go and get it? And I think that was kind of the sentiment I got from Coach Olson. He said the one consistent thing he's had in his tenure at CBU is change, right? Whether it's going from D2 to D1, switching up conferences, teams leaving the WAC since they've been in, joining. There's always been change. And he says we're kind of used to it. So he said it doesn't really throw them off at all. So I'd say, hey, the championship, the title is out there for the taking. Who's going to go get it?
Well, and that's, GCU obviously did what they did last year. That was an
Yes.
impressive season by Molly Miller and company. And now the Lopes are onto the Mountain West, and Winston Gandy got his first win this week against SMU. One of the things we talked about, I asked actually Jared Olson if that rivalry was going to stay alive, and he kind of deflected us in a way like ask Molly Miller, but I would hope that rivalry reunites at some point. Just because it's been a fun rivalry to watch them and GCU go at it over the last handful of years since COVID year. I mean, you asked Travis, I think he called the overtime game in the first of that back-to-back weekend.
Oh, I'll have to ask him about it, but I'm sure you're right. I think you look at the college basketball landscape as a whole, and we're in such a weird time where rivalries really are almost non-existent in a lot of ways because of all the changes. So I think anytime you can hold on to those roots and those battles and keep it alive, you should do it. So hopefully they can schedule each other in years to come and still have some fun with it.
What excites me for next year is there's already been a leak of a game on the Lancer schedule from Utah Tech. The Lancers and Utah Tech will keep that rivalry alive despite the two teams moving their separate ways. And we all know how fast J.D. Gustin teams like to play. It's basically watching a mirror image of CBU.
Well, and those are the best games to watch, right? Teams that really like to get out and run, get out, own the floor, work the floor. So yeah, keeping that matchup sounds good to me.
Taylor, looking at the larger WAC picture, obviously with undefeated GCU gone, as you alluded to, the conference is up for the taking. GCU won the conference by 6 games last year.
Yeah.
Do you think the margin at the end of the regular season, when we get to March, I think it's March 7th, whenever that final Saturday of the regular season will be less than or greater than 3 games?
I'm going to say less because that's an insane amount of separation. That's a special season when you can have that kind of lead at the end of the regular season. So I think that was a special anomaly. No, I think it's going to be closer just because, as I said, it's hard to beat anyone 3 times. I think that it's going to be interesting, and it's going to come down to who can stay healthy and who is peaking at the right time. Because as we all know as basketball fans, right now, we're just getting started. You want to peak much later in this year. So who's going to be peaking at that time?
What are some of the WAC at-large stories you're kind of looking at as we're about a month from the conference openers? You got the CBU is going to host Utah Valley on opening night. Obviously, we all remember the Chloe Lemon 39-point game when the Wolverines visited Fowler Event Center a year ago. What are some of the larger WAC stories that you're going to be looking at as you and Travis get ready for games?
I'm going to look to you for the larger sense because I'm really focusing more on the Lancers in-house. And I think that what I'm focusing on in-house is Philippa Barros. She has been so fun to watch, and we know how good she was 2 years ago, hurt last year, and she has been back with a vengeance this year. So I'm really looking at her. She's already had a triple-double this year, which is super rare. And so I just want to see how far she can fly and how far this team can go with her. I'm also curious in-house about the newcomers, as you mentioned. We have to talk about Chance Bucher, a veteran that transferred in, who has just totally hit the ground running as a vet for this team. Jared Olson was really excited about her. So as far as the WAC in a broader sense, I'm going to have to see some of these teams in action before I can make any exciting judgments there. But I am excited about the potential for the Lancers to kind of make a splash once again.
And you mentioned Bucher being a grad transfer. When we talked to Bill Brock last year, one of the things he talked about was getting old and staying old in this of the transfer portal, and how that's probably how you're going to see rosters constructed going forward, which means obviously a diminishing window for those really talented high school seniors.
It's such a disadvantage for those high school seniors, as you mentioned, because the facts are that right now it's a win now. It's a win now, and see what can happen for these coaching staff. So yeah, you're going to try and get players that can contribute now instead of back in the good old days when developing players and developing relationships and red shirts and all of those things, building for the future. It's just unfortunately not really a thing anymore. But you look at Jared Olson, he brought in a lot of freshmen this last year, the most he's had in a while. So I think you do still see those coaches that will take a chance on a young player if it's warranted. But when you're going to the portal, you want to try and score on a high impact transfer. And that's exactly what Jared Olson found in Chance Bucher, because she is that senior on the floor. Coming in, he didn't have captains named. He was kind of waiting to see who's going to kind of grab a hold of this team and make it theirs. And Chance is a girl that, while this is her first season with the Lancers, Jared was kind of looking at her like maybe she's going to be captain material. And you see how she plays on the floor, so seasoned, so calm. Her pacing is so good, and she's really fit into this offense well. So I think she's someone that you feel like is 100% a score from the transfer portal.
You feel like the mid-majors kind of have the advantage in the portal over the power conferences, especially when, if you're a team that's finished early, but like you didn't make a conference tournament, or you lost in the first or second round and you didn't make a WNIT, you get that first chance to dive in and see what's there.
I think there's something to be said for that, and how fast, especially if you make coaching changes in the off season, how fast you need to have that staff in place so that they can get into the portal. But I think if I'm putting myself in the mind of a player in today's game, I'm wanting to go, if I'm in the portal, to a program that has it together, right? Like a team that's had some success. So whether that's stability at head coach, whether that's wins, whether that's going deep in the playoffs, I think those are also super attractive to a potential transfer. So I don't really know who has the advantage. Unfortunately, I think it also comes down to NIL and athletes are looking to cash in and see what programs can provide for them too. So I think everyone looks for a little something different. But if I'm a player, someone that's been recruiting me for a while out of the portal, that's attractive. Someone that goes deep in the playoffs, also attractive.
We hit the holiday break, and I think it's one of the toughest things to, send them home, right?
Yeah.
Get them back for a couple of days of practice and then go dive into an NTE. Just for you as a player, what was the hardest part about holiday tournaments? Was it, going home for Thanksgiving, then coming back for Black Friday, and then knowing there was a game 2 or 3 days later?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't think I ever went home for Thanksgiving, not once. I think with basketball, it's interesting because you don't get any kind of fall break. Thanksgiving, you're probably staying in town. Christmas, you'll be lucky if you go home. Especially now. Spring break, you're hoping you're not available because you're still playing. So you really don't get the breaks that a normal college student or, a fall athlete or a spring athlete gets. So I think as basketball players, you just know that. I always enjoyed the holidays, though, when everyone on campus would leave, because it was just you and your teammates. And, it was kind of fun in that way. And you could get a lot of work in, not having to go to class. So I always thought that was fun. We would travel for Thanksgiving tournaments too. So it was fun to go to some random place and hoop and have a meal wherever you can. But I think as a college basketball player, you kind of get used to it. And frankly, you look at the pros, look at their schedules. Holidays are game days if you're lucky. That means that people want to watch you if you're playing on Christmas Day or Thanksgiving in the NFL. So I think holidays are kind of what you make it, but it it is hard if you step away from your routine as an athlete mid-season and have to jump back in. That's why you usually see the coaches throw a good conditioning at you on that first practice back. Be like, sweat out those Christmas cookies. It's time to get back to the grind.
Now, Taylor, you're going out of town for the Thanksgiving CBU MTE. Talk about where you're traveling.
Yes, I am making my way to Colorado. The CBU men's team have a game at CU in Boulder. So that'll be a lot of fun for me personally. My husband's on the men's staff. And so we're making our way there. I used to live in Denver for a very long time. So it'll be a reunion for us being back in Colorado. And why not have some fun and get to the high altitude and see if we can mix it up.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about kind of your path in sports media for the
Sure.
the young person that might be watching out there. Talk about you said you spent some time in Colorado in the Denver
Mhm.
market. Kind of talk about your path to the CBU booth.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So it's been a crazy path. I was a college basketball player, as you know, and I decided early on, I don't think coaching's for me, but I want to stay close to the games. And so media was the next best option. And I jumped in as soon as that clicked for me and haven't stopped since. So I grew up in California. I moved to Nashville after I graduated from college and worked for free for a TV station and covered that market, which was really great, just to see if this is something I wanted to do. From there, I took a job in my first paid on-air gig was in the middle of Nebraska. So I was thrown into covering the Big Ten, and anyone that knows the football fan base in Nebraska, they know what I'm talking about. So that was a lot of fun. And then I moved to Colorado after that, and I lived for a decade covering the Denver market. And when I was there, I got to cover the Nuggets' first NBA championship in franchise history. I got to cover the Avalanche Stanley Cup run, and I've covered the Denver Broncos for that 10 years as well. And it's just, I'm biased, but one of my favorite sports markets in the country. And so my husband being a college coach, when the CBU job came calling as a family, it was time to go. And so I'm working on a freelance basis. We have young kids, so it's been a really fun way to stay on the mic, stay on live TV, and have a lot of fun doing it. And so I was really excited for the opportunity. And yeah, talking basketball, what's better than that?
Yeah. What's the biggest thing you've learned in your kind of crisscrossy travels across the country that you would share with the women out there in sports communications programs?
Oh, wow. So the biggest thing I would say, obviously getting into this business now is so different than when I was starting out, simply with the social media and podcasts like yours and different platforms that are available. My biggest advice is to work hard and never say no to an opportunity that you want. Even if you feel, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that, you jump in and you take advantage of every opportunity. And as far as trying to find a job or trying to get started, you just can't take no for an answer. So you just got to pound the pavement until you can get put in front of a camera. And from there, you just got to see how far you can go. But this has been such a blessed career path for me. I've loved it. It doesn't feel like work. Again, if you're a sports fan and you get to have the best seat in the house to some of the biggest games in the country, what could be better than that? So for anyone that wants to do this, I encourage you. I say it's not easy because there is no cookie cutter recipe. I can't say steps 1 through 3, this is how you get there. But that's the fun of it, right? It's what you can make it. So I would encourage anyone that wants to do this, especially young women, go for it.
Is it easy to balance being in the booth with, being a mom of 2 young kids? Just like, how hectic is game day for you?
Oh, well, I will say now, since I'm working freelance and really can make my own schedule, I have a lot of support around me. It's not easy because you are juggling a lot of schedules and a million things at once. And anyone that's a parent knows that never stops. So yeah, it is juggling a lot. But I will say that I've been I've covered the NBA finals pregnant. I've juggled a lot, and it just takes a little more planning, I would say. But I also think being a mom has made me so much better at my job because you realize how precious time is. And so you really want to use your time wisely and effectively. And it's just made me so much more, I prioritize things so much more professionally because you have to really use your time wisely.
All right, as we wrap this up, we got a couple things to close out with.
Let's do it.
One, for the Lancer fans going to follow the men, give us a couple of spots in Boulder that you got to go eat at while you're in town.
Okay, well, full transparency. Anyone that knows Colorado, Boulder is its own entity, way different than Denver, where I spent my time. But Pearl Street, go to Pearl Street in Boulder, and you will have plenty of options for food. It's going to be festive. It's going to be beautiful. And if you're a hiking person, you got to hike while you're in Boulder because you will never see anything prettier than the Flatirons.
All right, number 2. What is your, I'm in a rush to get to Fowler, but I still need to eat something?
Well, honestly, you're not going to like my answer probably because it's going to be In-N-Out, and there's no fast way to go through In-N-Out. But you hit up the In-N-Out on Madison, not far from the arena. You're getting a burger and fries, and you're sitting pretty going to a game.
All right. CBU analyst Taylor Kilgore, thank you so much for joining us on a rainy Friday afternoon here in Southern California. Looking forward to seeing the Lancers back on the floor on the 28th. And Taylor, you'll be back in time for the conference opener.
I absolutely will, and I'll be pumped, as I'm sure we all will be, to get conference action up and running. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Straight Outta WAC podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Remember to follow WAC Hoops Nation on all your favorite social media platforms.